What I wanted to emphasize is that this difference between the two depths, this opens up the space for a game. So I am all for gamification. Good and evil, I don't care. Give me more of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much to our...
Oh,
you have
see,
one more
you
point.
were right. You remember my old joke, some of you may know it, this is how language works. You know how I joined the applause before? I played the Stalinist game. This is a big topic. Look at speeches by both types of bad guys. Hitler, the fascist leader, when he gets, of course, the thunderous applause at the end, he just receives the applause. A Stalinist leader, even Stalin, he gives a speech, everybody applauds. What does the Stalinist leader? Check it up on YouTube do. He stands up and joins the applause. Why? Because the idea is I'm like you, which makes him even worse. I'm just one of the servants of the people. We all serve that higher dimension that you mentioned before. Sorry, it will not happen again.
Or will it? What is a game, and is life one? Is life a game?
Yeah, well, I mean, it seems like we all agree that life is a game, so there's not going to be any screaming back and forth, I guess.
But what do we mean by game?
Yes.
What do we mean by game? Yeah. So I guess in the simplest of sense, I would say that a game is something that has a particular set of rules and then has a particular goal. Which I mean, I guess if you believe in the laws of physics and causality, arguably everything in existence follows this pathway. I think that when it comes to what was it? Repeat the prompt. He threw me off.
What is a game, and is life one, according to how you define it? Yeah.
So I would say that life is definitely a game. I think that the negative connotation of the game part of life comes from the fact that games are seen as competitions. And I think that the important part of realizing that life is a game is that everybody is playing a multitude of games at any different time. Some of these games, all of us can win, and some games are going to be competitions between other people where we can't all win. So life is a game, but there are competitions that we should strive to do well in. Like you could argue that a game that you can win is being a father, having some children, having a good life with your family. That this is a type of game that every individual, well, every father and then every mother can play and win without necessarily having to be in competition with other people. There can also be other types of games where quite literally we're competing in, say, like an athletic event where there can only be some winners. But I think even within those games that you might lose to other people, you can have personal accomplishment or success where you outperform. You do, say for track and field, you run faster than you ran before, or you jumped higher than you jumped before. At the end of the day, I feel like ultimately, this might be a boring answer, but I feel like it's kind of a semantic question. When I talk about things, I try to remove a lot of the normative baggage. People will hear the word game and they instantly assume, oh, it's like goofy or silly or stupid. But I mean, if you look in the animal kingdom, for instance, like cats do a lot of like cute little behaviors where they scrouch around, they jump around corners, and they play with their, they can either play with their human friends or their, mom and dad, and or their mom, that particular game is just a game that they're playing, but it prepares them for actual hunting in the future, right? So the game itself there is a preparation for something later on in life that satisfies the literal most important fundamental need to the creature, which is finding food. So yeah, I mean, in a way, everything is a game, but I probably wouldn't say it in a normal conversation because people get really mad when they hear that word.
I agree with you, it's a semantic question, but I think, maybe I'm wrong, it is maybe at certain level more productive not to universalize game, but to set some minimal conditions which I must admit limit the notion of game to human symbolic universe. Game is something for me out of which you can step in some sense, break the rules, and for me, in this sense, games are on the one hand cliches. And I love cliches. My favorite quote from the big Hollywood, he was very progressive, Sam Goldwyn, producer. When he got from his assistant tell him that in the press they said, there are too many old cliches in your movies. You know how he answered? He sent a memo to his screenwriters, scenario writers, saying, we urgently need more new cliches. The right answer. So I think that all true spiritual, even I would say, progress comes through this. You do something wrong, And here, to insult you in a very friendly way, a French friend of mine claimed to me, you see, this is cooking, kitchen as game. That why is French cuisine one of the great ones? Because it's based on failure. You were your ancestors. You were doing cheese. The cheese got rotten. You were lazy, but you say, my God, a new kind of cheese, Roquefort or what?
Tastes great.
Yes,
Yeah.
and you were doing wine. The wine, whatever happened to him, became then, oh my God, let's call this champagne, and so on. I think this is the most productive way. The true creativity is not, I invented up something new, but precisely this, to quickly change. Already late Wittgenstein was obsessed with this problem, to quickly change the rules so that an apparent mistake allows you to open up a new higher level of gaming.
So I'd like to share with you a 60-second walk into another view of how life's built. 60 seconds?
Please.
Thank you. I'm going to invite you to clear out your inner space with 3 breaths. Have the option to close your eyes and walk you, if you wish, an invitation through a 60-second thought visualization. Okay? I invite you to close your eyes. I invite you to take 3 breaths. 1, 2, 3. I invite you to think of a time where you wanted something so badly in the game of life that you researched it. You strategized. You had your tactics. A plus B plus C, that red door was yours. That job, that university, him heard them to say yes. To live there, that red door was yours. A, B, C, you'd done it right. You go for the handle, and it's stuck. And it seems untenable in this game of life, 99% certainty, because you had done A plus B plus C. You might kick the door, you might be shocked, you might even be depressed. But only because the red door was stuck, you had no choice. You turned 40, 80, 110 degrees, and there was a wide open, shining yellow door. You may have said that yellow doors don't exist. You've never thought of yellow doors. On the other side is someone more right for you, is a job that made you feel alive, is a mentor who brought you in a whole new direction. It was not what you had wanted. It was better than what you had wanted. And finally, now as you sit back, stuck red door, hairpin turn, trail angel, pointing you to the yellow door. How really are the most important parts of our lives found? Is it narrowly through strategy and tactics, or do those certainly have their place in preparation? But are the most finest directive parts of our lives some type of dialogue, not with walking an inert stage, but in a dynamic dialogue with a dynamic guiding force in and through all life? Is it possible you've been on a quest, a spiritual path all along? Sitting now way back, stuck red door, hairpin turn, trail angel, wide open yellow door. Where in your road of life is the force, is the source, universe, God, Hashem, Allah, that which is in us, through us, and around us? Is this force in the trail angel and in you hearing the trail angel? Is the force in the open yellow door and even the stuck red door? So life has times for strategy and preparation, but life, perhaps in your own path, is alive and has a force of its own.
I want to emphasize this. I don't believe in going deep into your inner self. Sorry to be brutal, if you go deep into it, you find deep shit there, I claim. Monstrous fantasies and so on. I believe that the only way to overcome yourself is to identify with your mask. I hate people who open themselves up, and I don't want to hear them. I mean, all the dirty deeds. We need hypocrisy, sorry.
Um,
As a Stalinist.
I think that the issue that we run into, especially in the Western world, is a lot of the games that we're looking to play are in competition with other people. There's a saying that is it jealousy is the thief of joy, or like the idea that basically you can have something, you can be nice and feel good about it, but then as you see that your neighbor has something bigger or better, now all of a sudden you don't feel good about the thing you have. You know, you have the iPhone 12, he's got the iPhone 13, you have the Mustang, he's got the Bugatti, that all of a sudden the things that you have are no longer good anymore. I think that the games, as I said earlier, the games that we play seem to be increasingly more consumeristic, and a consumer game is often measured by the actual value dollar amount of the things that you're acquiring. And in that sense, it's very easy to compare from A to B. Is my house worth more than his house? Is my car worth more than his house? Am I in the top 10%, 5%, or 1% of earners? I think that if you're stuck on playing these games where you're in relentless competition with other people, then necessarily you're going to have winners and losers. And necessarily there's going to be a big chunk of losers that are going to feel like losers. And it's going to inhibit even their ability to navigate life and play the individual games that I think they should be more focused on.
I agree with some of my friends, not fully, but like Varoufakis, Jody Dean and so on, who claim that what is happening today is that liberal competitive capitalism is already approaching the end. I think it is meaningful to say, although the term is maybe too radical, it's not as simple as that we are entering the era with new feudal masters. These ultra-rich corporations are owned by individuals. How did Bill Gates become so rich? He monopolized our commons. If we want to communicate, we have to go through his products. So it's not profit in the sense of exploiting his workers, it's rent. We are paying him a rent. We are paying Jeff Bezos a rent, and so on and so on.
How do you see that future as we spend more and more time? How do you personally even navigate it in a way that you don't just become a puppet to these very powerful companies who've got very extensive tools to ensure that the more time you spend online, the more you're aligning with what they want you to be doing?
Yeah, so I'm curious, for this analogy, how many of you guys here like play any type of game on the computer, PlayStation, Xbox? Okay, decent enough. Okay. I'm 34 years old. When I grew up, games were kind of messy. Sometimes there were glitches. It was difficult to figure out what you had to do. Everybody was kind of like exploring and breaking new ground. You know, we didn't even agree on if on like PlayStation, for instance, the circle button or the X button should be go to the next menu. There was a lot of disagreement on what a game should look like, what the rules should be, how they should be structured. As we've moved through time for games, people have kind of figured out these formulas, and we've iterated relentlessly on these formulas to create these hyper-capitalized, hyper-globalized, like hyper non-unique experiences where every single game is like, when you're playing FPSs these days, it's like you have a check mark on a map, you have a marker on your screen, and you kind of like, you run there, you shoot guys, you pick up the item, then you go to the next check mark. And there's almost no cognitive interaction at all with the game you're actually playing. It's just run to the next check mark over and over again. Ubisoft is infamous for this, EA does this, every major manufacturer does this for games. And I think one of the big problems is we look at manufacturers or we look at big capital interest, and I think the issue is actually us as people don't usually choose pain or suffering. Usually what we choose is the thing that makes us feel immediate gratification. And I think that today there's so much money behind creating actual games or social media or literally anything else we interact with in life that they've hooked into that process in the human mind, and they found a way to make a lot of money by hijacking our processes where we say, gimme, gimme, gimme exactly what I want. I feel like in life in general, I think we've tried to remove or eliminate almost all the friction that we have because we want to get rid of things that don't make us feel good immediately, but then we end up depriving ourselves of kind of like the long-term fulfilling things that truly like gratify us or give us gratification in ways that short-term things never could. I would compare it to, you could spend 36 hours browsing TikTok or Reddit, and you can be on your phone and you can be hooked and you can do it, and after those 36 hours, you might not remember like a single meme or picture or song or whatever you watched. You did it and you filled the time.
To continue watching this video, click the link in the top left or in the description below. Or visit iai.tv for more debates and talks from the world's leading thinkers on today's biggest ideas.